There's a chart I want to show you and talk about in this video in regards to Bitcoin to show where we are in the cycle. And I'm going to put it on the screen, and it's going to be on the screen for a large majority of this video. And this chart is Bitcoin's coin value days destroyed. And so it's really simple to understand what this chart means. It is showing you, for example, let's say that somebody had 10 Bitcoin and they had it in their possession for the last 10 years, and they decided to take that out of storage and to sell it. That would be 10 years worth of coin days destroyed, and that would reset those particular 10 Bitcoin would reset, and it would go back to day 0, day 1, something like that. And so what you tend to see if you look at this chart during bull markets is that coin value days destroyed increases. That's just a natural progression. As the price rises, the pressure to sell increases dramatically, and older holders of Bitcoin will sell their coins. And you can see early in 2017, 2018, going into 2018, you could see a lot of old Bitcoin moved, to which I would say, I'm sorry that you sold your Bitcoin at such low prices. And then, you fast forward to the peak of 2017 going into 2018, lots and lots of selling pressure at that time. 2021, the coin value days destroyed saw a peak when Bitcoin rallied over the span of a few months from $10,000 to $42,000. That was the peak of that selling pressure. Now, Bitcoin did make its way up to $64,000 and $69,000, but most of the selling pressure of those days being destroyed happened earlier in that cycle. And then you fast forward to 2024 going into 2025, Bitcoin's initial move to its previous all-time high, we saw a very strong peak in coin values days destroyed as we saw Bitcoin get to $70,000, and then some minor peaks throughout the cycle as Bitcoin got over $100,000 and over $110,000. And so that's one aspect of this chart worth paying attention to. It's just a natural progression of time. You buy low, you sell high. The higher an asset goes, the more pressure is going to be put on you to sell. And so, but what about the bear markets? Because the bear markets also tell us a story. You can see during bear markets, for the most part, that long-term holders are not really all that interested in selling. You can see throughout the 2018 bear market, there was very little selling from long-term holders until, and I'm going to get to this later, until one point in particular. Now, keep that in mind. That one point is essential to understanding the reason why I'm even talking about this in this video. Fast forward to the 2022 bear market. You see very little selling throughout the 2022 bear market as Bitcoin went under $30,000 and then under $20,000 until one point in that bear market, which is, again, the theme of this video. That's what I want to talk about with this video in terms of projecting where Bitcoin is going to go next. And then you fast forward to 2022 and 2026, and we are in a similar position where we see older coins just not moving. They're very relatively flat. They're very flat in comparison to that entire period throughout the bull run for Bitcoin, at least of 2024 to 2025. And now we're in this period where there's very little movement as long-term holders are very content in selling their crypto. Now, rewinding to 2018 and 2022, I want to talk about that one point and the significance of that one point. So that one point was the final capitulation in Bitcoin. In 2018 going to 2019, Bitcoin hung around $6,000 for multiple months. It was the most boring time that I remember in Bitcoin's history. And then we saw this capitulation of long-term holders selling and exiting. And some of that is minor holdings, and some of that is actually just people straight up giving up on Bitcoin. That's the final flush out, is these long-term holders, they throw in the towel, and miners, they need to sell in order to keep the lights on. So that happened in 2018 going into 2019. It happened again in 2022. We saw this spike in long-term holders selling at the bottom, and that was their capitulation. That was some of them giving up on crypto forever, giving up on Bitcoin forever. Oh, Bitcoin's dead, it's going to go to zero. And that is a psychological moment where, unfortunately, weak hands, even though they've been holding for a long time, weak hands give up. And so what does that mean for 2026? That means, in my opinion, that we are very likely to have this one final move where these weak hands give up and they sell their Bitcoin. The long-term holders have that final capitulation. They believe that Bitcoin is going to zero. And then that's actually the perfect time to buy back in, to buy the bottom, as close to the bottom as possible. So what does that mean for Bitcoin's price? There can only be speculation in terms of where's Bitcoin going from here. I am of the mindset that Bitcoin's price will go down to the 200-week moving average or a little bit below the 200-week moving average. A wick below would be, 200-week moving average is about $58,500 right now. So a wick below that would be $55,000. Maybe we'd even go lower. I don't know, but I am waiting for looking at coin value days destroyed, for seeing that final capitulation to put a large majority of my funds on the sideline, or even I'm probably going to sell some stock to buy Bitcoin at that time. I have Bitcoin. I will always have some Bitcoin. I am doing some small DCAs right now, but it's likely that moment is coming where somebody, for some reason, or multiple people for some reason, decide to throw in the towel at the worst possible time. And that is going to be, in my opinion, the time to jump in a major, major way. So monitor this. All you have to do is Google coin value day destroyed or Bitcoin value days destroyed, and you can look to see when that moment comes. That's going to be a phenomenal time to buy.